The modern women tutorials. The perfect guy doesn't exist. A lot of you ladies, want a guy who is romantic or likes, romance movies or poetry or something like that, or loves to give you followers or things of that nature. The thing is, a lot of the things y'all ladies want in a guy to quote unquote make him perfect for you is the things that make you you, is the things that you like. You want him to like what you like, right? The foods you eat, the 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 jokes you like, the movies you like, you know, the smells you like, and the list goes on, right? You want him to be a lot like you, and that's the problem. That's a contradiction. Your perfect guy is you, and that's the way you look at it. You're judging what you want from a guy based off of what you like, as opposed to, you know, looking for things that is different in him that you can like the fact that he's a bodybuilder, like the fact that he likes watching sports, or like the fact that he fixes cars, or like the fact that on his weekends he helps the homeless, or you know he's a teacher, he teaches students or something. Like you're supposed to want somebody who's doing things you're not doing, so that way you can love and appreciate what they are doing because they're really good at it. The number of times I see ladies, being impressed that a guy did something. Like, oh my God, he's so cool. He could play piano. That's so amazing. Yeah, something you can't do. Because if you could do it, you wouldn't be as amazed. You'd be like, oh, cool, I could do that too. But the fact that he's doing something you can't do is what amazes you. It's what attracts you. It's what makes you want him. Especially if you're like, oh, I want to be with him because he could play music for me. Like, yeah. But remember, it's something he was doing that you didn't do. Right? So, opposites attracts is the main thing. So the perfect guy for you is the opposite. Is a guy who isn't considered perfect. Right? But he would be awesome. I'm not saying, pick a guy who, doesn't have a job while you do have a job, right? I'm not saying, pick somebody with the opposite of you in a negative way. I'm saying opposite of you in a positive way. See, sometimes people don't grasp the certain concepts like that. Like I'll be like, hey, pick somebody who's opposite from you. And lo and behold, most females be like, oh no, I don't want a guy who doesn't have a job and who's not ambitious, who's not this, that, and this. Like, I didn't say that. Y'all immediately go into the worst example. I'm talking about somebody who's amazing that's different from you. Not somebody who's shitty, and that's what makes them different for you. I'm talking about somebody better than you, somebody who does what you don't do, right? I'm not stupid. I know y'all want, something awesome. So I'm not going to tell you grab something less awesome, right? I'm going to tell you to grab something that's awesome. But most of the time, y'all ladies don't know what awesome is. You think a guy who's rich is awesome, when in reality, he's not, right? The money is awesome, yes, but he himself ain't, right? Hitler had money. He wasn't an awesome guy. Osama bin Laden had a lot of money, wasn't necessarily an awesome guy, and the list goes on. There's a lot of shitty people with awesome things. So you got to be able to separate the two, right? Just like a attractive guy doesn't necessarily mean he's a good guy. Just like an attractive chick doesn't mean she's a good chick, right? Remember, your hardware or your body and your mind are not the same. They're two separate things, right? Your consciousness and your physical form are separate, right? Just like you and your car are not the same thing. You drive the car. The car is just a car, right? Y'all two separate things, but y'all can occupy the same space, aka you drive in the car, right? But you and the car are not the same thing. Same goes for your personality and your body. This is why it's not so surprising that a lot of people who are considered not that attractive tend to have really, really nice and amazing personalities. And then the opposite is true. People who have really, really nice bodies tend to be pretty shitty people, right? And that's partly because of, the more attractive people get treated, with, pretty privileged, as they say. They get treated better, and because of that, they become spoiled, right? They become entitled. They start thinking they're better than everybody else, aka they become assholes, aka they become shitty people, right? Because they start getting essentially like a god complex, right? The opposite, people who are constantly being told that they're no good, they're not that attractive, after a while, they either stop listening to those things and be like, all right, well, that's your opinion, that's your viewpoint, you're entitled to not like me, that's fine, but doesn't mean I have to do the same thing. I'm gonna start liking myself, and I'm gonna start doing things. I'm gonna do this and that, and live my life, be the best person I can be. Whether people appreciate it or not, that's irrelevant. As long as I'm happy that I'm a decent person. That's the thing. That's the thing about being a good person is it's a choice. You choose to be good. It's easy to be bad, right? It's easy to go down the dark path and make bad decisions, bad choices. Be selfish. But making a decision to be a good person, regardless of everybody else is shitty, that makes you strong, right? That proves that you are a good person because you on a daily basis are choosing to be a good person, right? Just like a person who chooses to be a bad person every day, well, they're clearly a bad person because they keep choosing it. It's not like one day they were an asshole and the rest of the time they're a decent person. No. So it's about consistency. If you're consistently a good person, you're a good person. But if you're consistently a bad person, you're a bad person, right? You're not really good if you're sometimes good, but then most of the time you're bad, and vice versa, right? The point is if you do more bad, you're a bad person. If you do more good, you're a good person. Right? No one's perfect, so you don't have to be good all the time to be a good person. It's just better that way, but that's the ideal. Just like the ideal man, right, would be everything you want, but in reality, everything you want, you don't need. Everything you want, it's not truly what you want. And sometimes y'all want things that for the moment you want it. I want a guy, who's 6 feet tall. It's like, okay, but why? What's the purpose? Right? What's the point? What's the usefulness of that height? If there's no use for it, then it was just a random want. There's no real need for it. But if you're really, really short and they're really, really tall, and them being tall is helpful because they can reach for things that you can't, then that makes sense. I understand a short woman wanting a tall guy because there's some usefulness in his height. But if you're almost his height, like you're 5'10" and he's 6 feet, it's like you're very close to height. You don't even need, because most things aren't 6 feet and above. Like most things that you can reach is probably at most 5'7" height. Most things are probably like 5'7", off the ground. So if you're 5'7" plus, you can reach it. So you don't need somebody who's 6 feet, right? And the fact that you're already tall, that makes you useful. So it wouldn't be a problem if you be with somebody shorter, because that at least makes you useful in the height regards. But anyway, to each their own. I'm just saying you don't need somebody extremely tall, right? If you're already relatively tall. I understand if you're really short, then yeah, a tall person or a taller person will be helpful. But that's for utility needs. But really need to focus on the fact that what you should want is what you need, right? You shouldn't feel like you need the things you want. That's one of the mistakes I see a lot of ladies do, is think that something they want is a need. It's like, no, he needs to be tall. He needs to be rich. He needs to be good looking, and so forth and so forth. So it's like, looks is subjective, right? Looks is not specific. It's not like somebody looks a specific way, and that's the standard basically for attractiveness. It's like, everybody's attractive in different ways. Well, at least for us guys, we always view it that way. You know, I can find a chick who's skinny attractive, but I can also find a chick who's fat attractive. It just depends on certain variations. Typically, it's the shape. It's not the fact that one has less fat and one has more fat. It's the shape. Because a skinny person could look terrible, but they're skinny, right? You'd think they'll be attractive, but no, they look terrible, right? While the fat person could look amazing, could look very, you know, fuckable, right? So, that's why it's like important to be open-minded to different things instead of assuming that, what's the best for you, right? What you truly want, and it's like what you should want, which is logical, is the personality. Personality should matter the most, because the body, whether they're in shape or not, whether their face is attractive or not, that's, especially in this day and age, we can fix the body much easier than we can fix the mind, right? We got surgeries for all types of shit, Not saying people should get surgeries or anything like that. I'm just saying it's the fact that we have that ability. You can go to the gym. You can go, buy some stuff to, wash your face and make your face look better. Because probably what's wrong with your face is you have a lot of acne or something like that, right? Or your face is not that moisturized, so it gets to starting to look a little wrinkly. Then moisturize it. Bang, problem solved, right? So that's one of the issues I see is a lot of people putting a lot of emphasis, especially the ladies, put a lot of emphasis into appearance. Now, putting effort into your own appearance is one thing, but expecting other people to also, you know, have a specific appearance that's extremely exaggerated is hypocritical. Most of you ladies complain about a beauty standard, right? I have to look a certain way, but then you project that same idea onto the guys. Like, oh, but he has to look a certain type of way. Why should I settle for a guy who looks less than this guy over here? Why should I settle for a guy that doesn't look like Idris Elba or Tom Holland or, I don't know, Thor, the guy who plays Thor, Chris Hemsworth and stuff like that. Like, why should I settle for less than that? And it's like, because most guys are attractive, especially because of the personality. The true love comes, for the ladies especially, comes more from what a guy says, not what he looks like. For what he does, not what he looks like, and the list goes on. So who he is as a person is what you fall in love with the most. In your mind, you paint a different version of him anyway. And that's another thing, is when I said the perfect guy doesn't exist, is the version you painted in your mind doesn't exist. Sometimes you'll date a guy thinking, and you'll be like, oh yeah, he's so amazing, but then suddenly he changed. He's so different than he used to be. No, he didn't change. He's still the same person. He ain't changed. He literally didn't change. It's your view of him changed. Because originally you had a version of him in your mind that you thought that he was, and then reality kicked in. You started realizing, oh, he's not always going to buy me flowers. He's not always going to agree with me. He's not always going to buy me things or fly me around the world or even give me a lot of attention. All these things that I expected from him, all these things that I thought that he would be doing, he's not doing any of it. Well, it's because he never said he was, right? Y'all never talked about, the things he will and will not do. You were more concerned about just what you liked to hear, and you heard him say some stuff you liked, and then you just assumed, oh, that makes him perfect. He agrees, he believes in giving a woman flowers. That means he's going to give me flowers all the time. Nope. He never said he was going to do it all the time. He just says he agrees with giving a woman a flower, Still up to him to decide how often he's going to do that. But you, in your mind, immediately created a version of him that gives you flowers all the time, right? And that's the thing is, after a while, you'll start getting greedy, extra selfish. And that's the thing, your perception of him is based off of selfishness, right? It's not selflessness, right? You're not constantly thinking like, oh, what can I do for him? What can I, is he hungry? This, that, and third. You're not even focusing on him, right? He could be sad and you wouldn't even notice because you're more focused on you, and what he should be doing for you. So your ideal guy, your perfect guy, is a guy who does everything for you, to you. So when the real guy you're with starts doing the opposite of that, suddenly it's a problem. Suddenly he's changed. No, he didn't change. If you mean he changed from the version you created in your mind, well, yeah, he's definitely different from the version in your mind, but he was never the version that was in your mind. He was never that guy, that quote unquote perfect guy. So that's the thing, the perfect guy doesn't exist in the way you think he does or should. The perfect guy for you does exist, but he has to be the guy that's the total opposite. He has to be a guy that you love what he does. Not that he loves what you love, you love what he loves. Right? One, he loves you, so that's a good thing, right? He should love you, right? If he does things for you, like he works, extra hours to make extra money, so that way he can, be able to afford a lifestyle that you like, a lifestyle that makes you happy, you should be grateful for that. Not complain that he doesn't spend enough time with you. It's like, well, he's doing things for you. And sometimes it requires him to not have time for you because he's doing stuff for you. Now, if you make those things less important, where it's like, yeah, I'd rather get more of your time, less of your money, then that'd be a different story. But nowadays, most ladies lean more towards money because they rather have the money and do what they want to do. Because again, that goes to selfishness, than the whole spending time with a guy. But then the audacity to blame the guy for not spending enough time with her. It's like, but you're the one who created that scenario. He could have spent more time with you and worked less if it wasn't for the fact that you preferred to spend money that he worked for more. You preferred to do what you wanted to do more than whatever he wanted to do. He was only doing what he thought or was heavily implied that you wanted, which was the lifestyle, right? The money. More than you wanted him. I love the J-Lo song, Love Don't Cost a Thing, where she complains about the fact is like, I'd rather you be here with me than buy me things. Like, my love is free. It doesn't cost money. That's a good thing. That's the way it's supposed to be. Right? Bills and luxury items and Netflix and car, and gas and stuff like that should cost money. Right? That's because these are all services, these are man-made shit. But love, which is supposed to be a natural thing, is not supposed to cost money. Your love for somebody shouldn't be determined by their bank account. Right? Just like ladies, right now online complaining about the whole body count thing, like, oh, why does body count matter? And the guy's response to that is, why does bank account matter? Y'all made our bank accounts important when it comes to judging us. So why can't we judge y'all based off of your body count? Because what we want from y'all is sex, typically, for most guys. And what y'all want from us, typically, for most ladies, is money. You want what money can do for y'all, and we want what you can do to us. We're not the same, right? We don't value the same thing the same way. We value your body, you value our money. So that's why the idea of like, oh, the perfect man, he will do this and that and this and that third, is like, that won't be the perfect man. That's essentially the perfect you, right? Like the perfect ideal version of yourself, the version of yourself you wish you was. Wish you was more traveled, more into movies, more into poetry, more of what you like. You would like to do more of the things you want to do, which is fine to want to do what you want to do, but to expect somebody else to inherently have those same wants, those same interests, that's rare. Plus, you shouldn't want somebody who likes the same thing as you like. You want there to be something special, where it's like, hey, I like this thing. Oh, you don't like it? Oh, that's fine. It's my special little thing. It's the thing that I like, and you don't like it. And just like you have special things you like that I don't like. And that's fair. Let's all have our own little things. But the stuff we do like that are the same, that's what we share together, and that makes it special for us because we share it. But then we have our own special little things, right? Our own individual things, right? I see a lot of chicks complaining about, their identity and, being themselves. And, it's like, oh, why can't he just let me be me, do the things I want to do? And it's like, guys are not against it as long as it doesn't jeopardize the relationship, right? Doesn't cause problems. Guys typically don't care what your ladies want to do and do as long as it doesn't hurt the relationship, right? Like, if you want to cheat, well, that's not a good idea. He's not going to be interested in that, right? Just like you wouldn't be interested in that. But, I'm just putting it out there. There's like the perfect guy for you is the guy who's opposite, not the guy who you think should be. So stop creating the perfect guy in your mind and find a guy who you see as perfect once you get to know him. And that's the important part, is you get to know him, find out what he likes and dislikes, and then make your decisions there if he's a perfect guy or not, instead of creating your ideal guy in your head and then trying to see if you can find if that type of guy exists, which we've already seen doesn't seem to work and doesn't really exist. And that's why I said the perfect guy for you doesn't exist.